Have you ever bit your tongue because you were afraid of what you had to say would be judged or criticized? Or maybe you were afraid that the other person would be disappointed or upset. And then the next time the same thing happens, you think, well, I can't speak up now because I didn't speak up last time. And you bite your tongue again. And that cycle continues. And then you start getting frustrated and angry and resentful because you're not getting your needs met. And yet everyone else seems to be able to get what they want. And then something happens and you snap like a pressure cooker. You blow. And then you feel so guilty and ashamed. Believe me, I have been there. I lived in resentment for so many years. That's what we're talking about in this video, where resentment comes from and how do we get rid of it. I'm giving you a couple things that cause resentment and a way to reframe it that you'll never look at resentment the same way again. And why do I have this fruit in front of me? I'll get into that shortly. So this biting our tongue and not speaking up when we have something that has hurt us or something important that we have to say, this is a people-pleasing behavior and it keeps us stuck. And this is what is causing resentment. So many times we think that resentment is coming from externally, that something or someone is causing me by what they're doing or not doing, that they're causing me to be resentful. But I'm going to explain to you why that is not true. Resentment comes from within us. As I say in a lot of my videos, the first thing I want to tell you is this is not your fault. People-pleasing and biting your tongue is a pattern that you learned in order to stay safe. You maybe were taught when you were young to not speak up, that good girls should just be seen and not heard, that you need to be good, that you need to be nice. And so we learned this pattern of behavior of not speaking up for ourselves. So you biting your tongue as an adult is very normal. It's basically just a habit that the brain, the subconscious mind, has developed as a way that it thinks it's keeping you safe. And so we develop these unhealthy behaviors and ways to respond to things that are not healthy, and they keep us stuck in these patterns. So as always, awareness is the key, and I hope this video will open up some awareness for you around why you're feeling resentful and how to deal with it. As I said in the last video, we develop expectations of other people or things to be different in order for us to feel comfortable. We expect other people to change in order to accommodate our feelings, or we expect them to guess how we're feeling, or we expect them, because we've been with them for so long, that they should just know how I feel. And these expectations set us up for resentment. There's a saying that expectations equal premeditated resentments, and that is exactly what's happening. When we have expectations of other people or things to be different than they are, we will always be disappointed. And that typically leads to resentment when those things don't change and we think they should. Another reason that we can get resentful is when we were young, most of us as girls were taught that negative emotions were bad. Emotions such as anger or sadness or resentment, that those emotions were bad and that we shouldn't feel them. And so we suppress our emotions. And I say that suppressing our emotions over time is like being constipated. You cannot go for many days without feeling miserable. I mean, going to the bathroom, right? If you're constipated, you're miserable. But more than that, what's happening is you're actually building up toxins in your body. And when we suppress our emotions, the same thing is happening. We are building up toxicity in our body. So a lot of times when we suppress this resentment, these things that we want to say, that we need to say, but we suppress them, we are creating toxicity in the body, emotional toxicity, and it does the same damage to us. It puts us in a stress state, which creates cortisol, which cortisol is the thing that can create belly fat for women, especially in midlife. That belly fat, a lot of it comes from the stress of not dealing with things or suppressing emotions or having expectations of other people. Can we all agree that when we squeeze an orange juice comes out, right? Or lemon juice, grapefruit juice, right? And the question is, why is that? Silly question, right? It's because that's what's inside. That's the only option. Nothing else can come out except for orange juice out of an orange. So let's look at how this applies to you. When you get squeezed, triggered, your buttons pushed, whatever you want to call it, at work, with friends, with family, with your spouse, with the president, it doesn't matter. When you get squeezed, what comes out? If you haven't healed your resentments and your expectations, the disappointment, the anger, the bitterness, then that is what's going to come out when you get squeezed. And I am speaking from experience. I get it. And I went to work on healing this in me. All the resentment, the bitterness, the anger that I was holding on to, the expectations of other people to be different or to change in order for me to feel okay with myself. And there are still times, right, where I have to check myself. But I played the victim for many years, and it caused me a lot of unhappiness, anger, anxiety, bitterness, health issues, and lost relationships. I believe that all 3 of my marriages failed, not because of the other person, but because of my unwillingness to speak up and be authentic and show up fully and allow the other person to do the same. But I blamed things on the other person when I was the one not speaking up, not being authentic. So when I would get squeezed, that is what would come out. Everything that I was holding on to. We are meaning-making machines. So when we have something in our life that happens, anything from someone cutting us off on the road to someone dying, we make meaning out of it. And then we build up resentment about it. And if we don't get that resentment and the anger and bitterness, all of those emotions, if we don't get them resolved and taken care of, then when we get squeezed, that is exactly what's going to come out. There's no other option. The saying is that hurt people hurt people. And what that means is when we have these things inside, we are hurt. We are like a bunch of 5-year-olds running around not dealing with the things that we're stuffing down inside. And I know that you're not doing it intentionally because this was a pattern that we developed when we were kids to not speak up. But hurt people hurt people. So even though you didn't cause this, you were taught to be this way, you are responsible for healing it. Because what we're holding inside, we bleed out onto other people. When we get triggered, when we get squeezed. And if it doesn't come out, that means you're holding it all inside. And what is likely going to happen? That big explosion you don't want to happen, that you are ashamed and feel guilty about afterwards. So healing these, looking into what resentments, what expectations are you holding on to, and take a long, hard look at what it is doing to your life. In Brene Brown's book, Atlas of the Heart, she says, while resentment is definitely an emotion, I normally recognize it by a familiar thought pattern. What mean and critical thing am I rehearsing saying to this person? So if you're feeling resentful to someone and you hear yourself talking meanly in your head about this person and then feeling guilty about it and ashamed about feeling that way, and the thing that we can do is ask ourselves, because this is a message to us that there is something happening in our life that we're not getting met, some need that we have. So ask yourself, what do I need but I'm afraid to ask for? Where am I afraid to speak up? If you allow yourself to answer that question honestly without projecting out into the future what might happen if you speak up, if you can allow yourself to answer that question honestly and start acting according to the answer to that question, you will be able to let go of your resentments, because you'll realize that all these expectations that you have of other people to be different or for things to change in order for you to be comfortable is what is causing the resentment. And if you want to know more about that, you can watch this video right there. Or lemon, oh damn it. Dang it. Meaning making machines. In Brené's Brown, can we all agree that when we squeeze an orange